It is with great pleasure that my wife and I welcome you to Windsor Castle on this, your second state visit to the United Kingdom.
A single empty chair may have said more than any headline this week. At a state banquet meant to showcase unity and tradition, Princess Anne was seen taking the place beside King Charles that many expected would belong to Queen Camilla. While, according to some accounts circulating online, Camilla's own seat sat conspicuously vacant. Was this a scheduling issue, a health matter, or something the palace simply isn't ready to explain? As royal watchers pored over the photographs, one image kept resurfacing everywhere. Anne, poised and composed, right where Camilla usually stands. What does an empty chair at the king's table actually mean, and why won't anyone say it out loud? Before we go further, it's worth being upfront. Nothing here has been confirmed by Buckingham Palace. What follows is drawn from public reporting, photographs, and the reactions of royal commentators, not official statements. Keep that in mind as the story unfolds. Stay with us, because what happened next only deepened the mystery. The empty place setting. It wasn't a headline, it wasn't a press release, it was a photograph, one frame among hundreds taken that evening, that quietly rewired the entire conversation around this state banquet. State banquets do not happen by accident. Every name card, every chair, every inch of table spacing is decided weeks in advance by protocol officers who treat seating charts the way military planners treat maps. Nothing is improvised, nothing is left to chance. So when eagle-eyed observers noticed that the seat traditionally reserved for the Queen Consort appeared to be empty, and that Princess Anne had, instead, taken the position beside King Charles, the internet did what it always does with royal ambiguity. It filled in the blanks. Within palace-watching circles, the questions came fast. Was Camilla simply unwell? Was there a last-minute scheduling conflict? Or was there a reason the change hadn't been publicly explained? Nobody outside a very small circle actually knows. And that, more than anything, is what kept this story alive. Because here's the thing about royal silence. It doesn't calm speculation, it fuels it. Anne's position at the king's side wasn't entirely surprising on its own. The Princess Royal has spent decades earning a reputation as the family's most reliable working member, famously turning up to more official engagements than almost anyone else wearing the crown's name. If Charles needed someone steady beside him for a night that mattered, Anne was always going to be near the top of that list. But reliability doesn't explain an empty chair. And it's the empty chair, real or exaggerated by camera angles, we should say. Since some accounts dispute how visible the gap actually was, that turned a routine seating note into a full-blown royal talking point. So which is it? A logistical footnote blown out of proportion by hungry headlines, or a visible crack in a picture the palace works very hard to keep flawless? We're not done, because what allegedly happened next is even harder to explain away, a pattern nobody can ignore. If this were an isolated moment, it might have faded by morning. Royal seating charts shift for all kinds of mundane reasons. Illness, travel delays, last-minute diplomatic reshuffling. On their own, none of that is scandalous. But according to several royal commentators tracking Camilla's public appearances in recent months, this wasn't the first time her presence at a major event seemed reduced, altered, or quietly scaled back. Some pointed to earlier engagements where her role appeared smaller than expected. Others noted a handful of official photographs where she stood slightly apart from the center of attention rather than beside the king, as has long been customary. Individually, each of these moments is easy to dismiss. Together, according to those watching closely, they start to form a pattern, or at least the appearance of one. That's an important distinction, and one worth sitting with. A pattern of appearances is not the same thing as a confirmed fact about what's happening behind palace walls. Royal watchers are working from photographs, seating charts, and body language, not from any statement, briefing, or confirmed account from the family itself. Still, the questions keep multiplying. Is Camilla stepping back voluntarily? Is this the palace managing her public exposure for reasons that haven't been shared? Or is the public reading far too much into ordinary scheduling logistics? Nobody has answered, and the palace, true to form, has said nothing at all. That silence is exactly what turned one seating chart into a week-long conversation. Here's where it gets even more complicated, because the reaction to that empty chair may have told us more than the chair itself, the reaction the palace didn't expect. Royal institutions are built to project calm. Stability is the entire brand, so when a single photograph manages to generate this much noise, it's worth asking, why did this particular image hit differently than the dozens of other seating quirks that happen at royal events every year? Part of the answer may lie in timing. This banquet arrived during a period when public attention on the monarchy's inner workings has been unusually high, a moment when any deviation from the expected script gets magnified tenfold. In an environment like that, an empty chair isn't just an empty chair. It becomes a symbol people can project their own theories onto. And project they did. Some commentators framed Anne's position as proof that the working royals, the family members who show up, rain or shine, without complaint, are quietly becoming the monarchy's true center of gravity. Others saw it as nothing more than sensible contingency planning. If the Queen consort can't attend, of course you seat the most senior royal available beside the king. Then there's a third camp, smaller, more cautious, that thinks the entire story has been inflated by a handful of dramatic camera angles and a slow news week. According to this view, Camilla's chair may not have been empty at all for most of the evening, and the viral image simply caught an in-between moment, a bathroom break, a conversation elsewhere in the room, nothing more. So which theory holds up? Honestly, we don't know. And anyone telling you they know for certain is guessing, same as the rest of us. But here's what we do know. The palace has not denied, confirmed, or clarified any part of this story. And in the absence of an answer, the internet has been more than happy to supply its own. Let's pause here for a second, because there's one more layer to this that's easy to miss. What the silence really costs. There's a strange irony at the heart of every royal non-story like this one. The institution's entire strategy for managing controversy is to say nothing and let it pass. Usually that works. Most seating chart oddities are forgotten within 48 hours. This one didn't fade the same way, and according to some royal watchers, that's precisely because silence read differently this time. In a climate where the public is already primed to ask questions about health, succession, and who stands where in the family's future, an unexplained gap at the table doesn't read as neutral. It reads as a blank space people feel entitled to fill in themselves. Was that fair to Camilla? Possibly not, especially if the explanation turns out to be something as ordinary as a scheduling conflict or a minor illness. Was it fair to Anne, who now finds herself at the center of a rumor mill she had no part in creating, simply for doing what she has always done, showing up? Also, probably not. But fairness has never been the currency royal speculation trades in. Attention is, and this story generated plenty of it. As the days passed, more images and eyewitness accounts began circulating, some claiming Camilla was present for part of the evening, others insisting her seat remained empty throughout. The accounts don't fully agree with each other, which tells you almost everything you need to know about how much of this story is confirmed fact and how much is reconstruction after the fact. What nobody disputes is the photograph that started it all. Anne, calm and composed, beside the king, in the place so many expected to see someone else. So back to the question we opened with. What did that empty chair actually mean? Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. Maybe the truth sits somewhere in the unglamorous middle. A last-minute change, quietly made, that only became a story because nobody explained it. Until the palace says otherwise, that's where this one stays. Unresolved, unconfirmed, and impossible to look away from. What do you think really happened to that seat? A simple scheduling shuffle or a sign of something the palace isn't ready to say out loud? Tell us your theory in the comments below. And if you want more stories like this one, the moments the palace hopes you won't notice, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more.